Hey guys, it's Bruce. Welcome to ConvoCourses podcast, where we talk about GRC, cyber topics. Lately, it's been a lot of people trying to get into cybersecurity or GRC, so we talk a lot about that. Um, but it's really today it's open topics, and if you didn't know, just to give you some background on what's going on, I am been have been doing GRC, governance, risk management, and compliance for the better part of 20 years. Um, I've done other aspects of cybersecurity, such as cyber analyst work, vulnerability management, and other things, but mostly it's been compliance. So, what I've done is I just make content based off of that, like something I could talk straight off the top of my head. And today I don't really have any topics. So, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, I'm here. Like, this is an opportunity to talk to somebody who's in the field, especially if you just have questions about it. You don't necessarily want to get a course or a book or something. You just have questions. You just want to know more about it. You're in GRC and you want to know what people are talking about. I mean, what draws a lot of people to GRC is that it's a branch of cybersecurity where you're not super technical. You don't have to be super, you don't go into one thing. Like, take for example, being a firewall guy. A firewall guy has to be super deep on one thing. They have to really know if they're on Palo Alto firewall or if they're on Cisco firewall, whatever. They have to be really deep on that one thing. They have to really, really know that. And then in addition to that, they'll have to be pretty deep on networking, IT stuff. The difference is with GRC, it's more like you have to have a real broad understanding of IT, and a broad understanding of a solid understanding of cybersecurity, and a really good understanding of whatever compliance you need to get into. And the compliance is based off of the industry or sector you have to be in. Retail, for example, uses a lot of PCI DSS, whereas government uses they they're backed by regulations like FISMA, and they use a lot of NIST 800. So different industries and sectors have different rule sets and compliance. So with a GRC person, especially when you're leaning into the compliance side, you have to know more of what the organization needs to be compliant with. And so a lot of our security comes from that. And we're like doing a lot of documentation, a lot of meetings, a lot of things like that is what we're doing. And in that way, it's more like it's leans between something technical cybersecurity and like project management, because a lot of the work you're doing is that type of thing, is making sure everybody's on the same page, making sure that people are going in the same direction. So it pays pretty good, right? It pays pretty good. They're they're and I think the reason why it pays so well is because it's they're leaning on you um to do very important work for the organization. Sometimes you're you're making you're making decisions that a manager would normally have to make, or you're assisting decision makers to make their decision based off of knowing the policies and stuff. So that's what I've been doing a long time. This is an opportunity for you to talk to somebody. I'm currently in the field. I'm not one of these dudes that are on the internet constantly. I work Monday through Friday, and this is what I do. So this is a great opportunity for you to ask a question. Somebody said, I'm trying to be a certified ethical hacker with zero technical experience. What should I start with? You should start with if you're serious about this, if you're really serious about something like that, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, that's a very technical thing to get into. Very, very technical. So you're gonna have to have a lot of hands on. You could start off with projects and stuff, and I would target, if it was me and I was trying to get into being a certified ethical hacker, number one, they don't normally call it that. I mean, there's some that call it that, but for the most part, um, there's different names for it. Red team, red teaming is one term you might hear, or pen testing is another term you might hear. Another one is auditor, assessor. Sometimes they're a part of an assessor team. Um, there's a lot of different names for it, and just having a certified ethical hacker certification, um, and just carrying that name is definitely not enough. Normally, they're expecting those guys to really be hands-on and technical and really have been around the block. So if I was you, what if I were you, if I was in the same given the same position, I'm trying to get my certified ethical hacker, and um and I don't have any experience. That's what you said, zero technical experience, and you said I'm making a career shift starting with the comp certifications starting first in the next 7 to 8 months. Okay, so what I would do, knowing everything I know now, and that was my goal. The very first thing you need to do is get your foot in the door with basic IT. I know that's not a sexy thing to say, right? You're expecting me to say, buy my course. Once you're done with the course, you'll be able to make six figures. Boom, within 8 months. That's not true. So no. So I'm telling you exactly what I would do. Okay, this does not benefit me to tell you this. You got to start off with basic information technology. Now, I don't teach basic information technology. I mean, I've got a book about it. I don't really talk about or promote it because that's not really my audience. But there are some guys out there. There's a bunch of people on YouTube who talk about basic information technology. So what I'm trying to get you to do is know the basics first, right? Like, you want to get your foot in the door with basics. So how do you do that? Now that your focus should be, if you are serious about this, if you are really serious about getting into cybersecurity, IT, network, whatever, if you're serious, it's going to take you a while, but it'll be worth the journey. I'm telling you, I've been doing this. It took me a while to get into it, and it's not for everyone. And there is a learning curve. But man, it's been rewarding. Like, through all this government shutdown, through recessions, through COVID, through all this stuff going on, I'm telling you, I've not been without a job. I'm AI, even like all this stuff people are talking about. I'm like, I'm not with. I mean, I am impacted by some of it. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that this stuff, none of it's impacted anybody. I'm not saying that, but but since I do cybersecurity, I just I have been less impacted. I'll put it to you that way. I've been less impacted than others in other career paths. And if you look it up, one of the fastest growing industries is still cybersecurity, and followed by cloud and AI. There's some other ones in there, but cybersecurity is usually in that conversation. So if you're serious about getting into this, and you should be, your first steps got to be basic information technology. The very first thing you need to do. So that should be your focus. It was me. Somebody said currently getting an A plus and an N plus and a security plus. I will finish by February. Do you suggest an MSP to get an entry level position? I know. I know you preach moving laterally within the company that I work for. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is the same question, like the same group. I can answer both of these questions with in this same conversation. What I would do is I would start from the bottom, right? Getting the certificate. I'm not telling you don't get a certification or degrees or whatever, right? That stuff helps you to get the be knowledgeable with the common body of knowledge. That's what it helps you with. Um, it's nice to put on your resume, but if you don't have experience, you can't really back up. You can't really back it up, right? So if you don't have experience, people are going to question that. Certification is not to necessarily get a job. It's more to validate the experience you have. Does that make sense? So if you get a certification and you don't have experience that's been validated, then it kind of takes the power away from the certification. And I'm not telling you don't get it. It's really good curriculum. The curriculum of Security Plus is really, really good. The curriculum, Common Body of Knowledge for A plus, that was my first certification. It's really, I'm not going to talk shit about it. It's a really good core body of knowledge to understand computing. Basic, especially if you don't know anything. Like if you already been on the help desk, and no, don't waste your time with A plus, obviously. But Security Plus is both marketable once you get the experience under your belt, and the Common Body of Knowledge is incredible. Network Plus, the way the market is going is it's really good if you're brand new. Like if you're an absolute beginner at everything, then Network Plus is, yeah, sure. I have the Network Plus. I got it many years ago, like when it first came out. But for somebody who's been around a while, you could probably pick up a lot of that stuff from Security Plus. And I like between A plus and Security Plus, you could probably bridge the gap. There's a little bit of gap bridging it does, but not enough to take the certification, maybe just to learn the stuff or whatever. But it's up to you. Anyway, so my bottom line with certifications with no experience is that it's good to get to fill out the curriculum and get the common body of knowledge that you're going to need, because you're not going to get a job without that. Like the common body of knowledge, knowing how the stuff works is absolutely important. Absolutely. Nobody's going to hire you if you don't have the knowledge. No one. All right. So getting the body of knowledge is good. And that same goes the same thing for degrees. Getting the common body of knowledge. Now, the next step is to get the experience. And there's a few things that I would recommend you do. Number one that you can do right now, there's no excuses except for your time, like putting time aside to do it, is projects. Doing projects in your house with their current equipment you have, probably even with your phone. You could probably even start off with your phone on your doing networking stuff on your phone. I'm not even messing with you. Like you could, what the equipment you currently have, you're currently touching, you can get experience. You can actually do projects on your own, customizing your own network, putting firewalls in your network, doing network attached storage devices. Just the heavy lifting of doing those projects is going to get you hands on. Now, where's all this going? So what you're going to want to do is try to get a local help desk entry level position if you can get it. And they're all over the place. They're just not called help desk all the time. One place you can check is your local communications internet companies. And they're like here locally where I am, we've got we don't have Cox, right? Cox is like huge in the South or whatever, on the East Coast, I think. But here what we have is we have Xfinity, Comcast, we got Highline, we've got a couple other big guys that are trying to come in, like AT&T. They're setting up their own network here, like to get people on cable TV and get networking all plugged in and stuff like that. Those guys have a lot of local jobs that you can be like a field technician. And I'm surprised nobody talks about this, but those networking guys, the guys who come in your house and connect your network, the cable guy, that's a network guy, basically. That's a low-level networking guy. So they have to know a little bit about IP. They have to know a little bit about coax cable, difference between that and Cat 6, and the difference between that and fiber, right? They got to know what those things are and how to connect them. That's all part of networking, layer one networking. So the next step up from that is actual networking. And networking is some of the most badass, crucial technical skills and knowledge that you need to know for IT fundamentals. You'd be surprised how many DevOps, like software engineers, who do not know networking. And it is a fundamental understanding for cybersecurity and GRC and all that stuff. Like it's a piece you can't miss. You can't, if you skip it, it's at your own peril. So yeah, network. What I would do is I would, first of all, you're going the right direction. Like you're getting the A+ certification to learn basic networking. You're learning like common body of knowledge stuff. You'll get that on your resume, blah, blah, blah. But what you really want to do, more important than the degrees, more important than certs, is to actually do projects. And projects is really what separates the girls from the women and the men from the boys, because once you start doing it, it's very frustrating and takes a lot of patience to do it. It takes a lot of critical thinking. It takes time for you to think about, okay, what do I want to do? How do I do this? You're gonna have to go to Google. You're gonna have to go to freaking Chat GBT, and you're gonna have to ask questions to people. Maybe your cousin is a network person. You have to ask them, like, man, I'm stuck on this project. I can't get past this one thing. It's gonna keep you awake at night. Once you get really into it, you'll come across these really big problems. Well, they're not, looking back on it, they won't be big, but when you first start, it's huge problems. Like, give you an example. When I first started doing computers, I tell a story all the time. I was a cop in the Air Force. I was a grunt. We worked with at the time, we worked with the Army, the Navy. This was when we were just security police, right? They've changed the name like 3 times since I've been out, but we were security police. And we worked, it was hardcore, man. It wasn't, they would call us a chair force or whatever, but we were grunts. We were working with, like I said, doing air base ground defense with the Army. We in the Army and Navy and the Marines would like make fun of us because we were chair force or whatever, but we were doing all the same shit they were doing. So when I got into the regular Air Force, then I was like, okay, I see why they call it chair force now. Anyway, so I was a grunt in the Air Force, and I wanted to do computers. And what I first started doing was I built my own. This was my project. My first project was building my own computer. I bought a computer, and I was trying to upgrade my computer, so I had to take it apart and put a card in, and it just didn't work. And at that time, you had to find the device driver. It's not like now where it's kind of plug and play. Plug and play didn't happen yet at that time. It tells you how old I am. But I had to figure out how to go get the drivers and install the right one. And that took me probably 4 or 5 days to figure out like how to get the sound on my computer to work. And it was very frustrating. But that kind of thing, that kind of challenge is what you need. You need those things, those tiny failures over and over again to start to make you understand IT. And those little things like that over and over again is like lifting weights. You go in the gym and you start off with small weights. And then after a while, you start like the small weights is not enough. You got to go bigger. It's like that. Like you're exercising that understanding with IT, that hands-on. After a while, you start to grow. And what's amazing, what happens when you first start off is that you start to realize that maybe I don't want to do cybersecurity. That was my original target, but you know what? I kind of like this cloud stuff. This cloud stuff is fire. I really like this. That's what happened to me. I started off wanting to be a software engineer. I did not care about anything else except software engineering until I did it. I got hands-on with software engineering, and I just was like, this, I don't think this is what I want to do. I just didn't want, this is not what, I mean, I could kind of do it, but I could see it wasn't what I really had in like the reality of what I was doing didn't match up what was in my head, what I thought it was, right? You know what I mean? Like programming, since the beginning, I've evolved into it. I've done my own programming projects, and I've gotten a new respect for it and everything. So it's a little different, but I just realized right away this is not really what I want to do. And then I started messing around, tinkering. I kind of like more of the hands-on piece, like putting computers together. And networking was, man, I was on fire for networking for probably the first 3 years of my career. Like networking was what it was all about. And I went and got my CCNA. I got the Network Plus. And then I was in the Air Force at the time. I'd cross-trained into communications. And the Air Force called it, at the time, it was a 3POX1. I think it's like a 1DX. I don't know what they call it now. But I was a 3POX1, which was a comms, computers and communications. ComOps is what we called it. And We were help desk, we were networking, engineering, we were firewalls. We did all that kind of stuff, which I think now they give it to contractors to do all that now. But at the time, we did all that stuff. And what I learned was like I didn't want to be a programmer. I wanted to do like networking was really what I wanted, and I did that for like 3 years in the Air Force doing Cisco stuff. And then when I got out, I realized my calling is really cybersecurity. It's like I think what happened was I had a robust enough background in security. Physical security actually plays a part in cybersecurity, which I found out once I got in. But because I had a background in physical security, a strong background in physical security, and I had a background in network. I'd done networking for a few years, and then they put me into like doing GRC documentation, like policies and stuff. I had this trifecta, and then I had hands-on help desk experience. This trifecta of like skills that made it easy for me to do cybersecurity, and I kind of fell in love with it over time. And because I just start getting deeper and deeper into it, and so it's a journey, like the number one thing though is like you're going the right way. You guys like um Chappelle and who else was there? Somebody on TikTok. You're going the right direction by learning the basics. The next thing you want to do is do projects in your home, like immediately, or if at your church or community centers, wherever you go, like on a regular basis, like offer services to do fix your aunt's computer, things like that, right? Those are all projects and things that you're gonna get hands-on experience. Once you have all this hands-on experience, what I would do is I would apply for your local, go on, go to your local biggest computer and networking businesses and organizations, and see if they have jobs available. Another thing you can do is if you already are employed, like Chappelle just said, if you're already employed, one of the tricks I always use is do a lateral move. I've done this over and over again, and it works every time. It works every time. When I was in the Air Force, I made a lateral move. I cross trained, is what we call it, from being a police officer to being a comms officer, computer guy. So now I did the same. Recently, I did the same thing. Within the last 3 months, I'm a contractor for a government agency, and I was at one job doing pure 100% GRC stuff with some vulnerability management mostly. And I wanted to do cloud, so I made a lateral move to a cloud part of our environment, like actually it's a whole different department, whole different organization within this gigantic 3-letter organization. So I went over to the cloud, and now I'm doing cloud security stuff. So I made I'm still in the same organization, but I saw that there were jobs there, or actually they found me, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then I made a lateral change. So that's what you want to do. Like if you might be an administrator in your school district or something, and you maybe, hey, they got computers there. They got an IT department. That IT department might be shorthanded. You'd be surprised. Not everybody want to do this kind of stuff. So make a lateral change. That's what if I were you, that is exactly what I would do if I were you. Those are the kinds of moves. And knowing what I know now, that's what I would do. All right, I got some other people chiming in here. Other people chiming in. I'm a time frame person, and my idea is by 2027, I'll be a strong candidate in the field. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Have like a time frame. That's exactly how I put my goals out. I have like a time frame of when I want to hit a certain mark, and I go for it. And then I have like at this time, and then I'll write it down. Like a really important thing that's been impactful is I'll have this big board in my room, my workspace, and I put it on a calendar and I mark it down. Here's what I'm going to accomplish by this date, and I go for it. And then I block time off. Another huge thing that's life changing is I'll block time, like throughout the course of a week. I'll say, in this time frame, I'm going to only do this one thing, and I'll just put blocks times throughout my whole week so I can get that one thing done. That also works. And then it evolves over time, is what I found. Is when I document it, I'm like, well, it's kind of like, I give you a specific example. Like, I was going for AI. I was like, AI is my target. This is what I really want to do. But then, and I wrote it down, everything. And then I realized as I'm getting deeper into it, I'm like, well, AI is based almost 100% on cloud. Like, their whole infrastructure is based on cloud. Like, maybe I need to be a cloud guy. And at the same time, while I'm thinking about that, is the whole thing is on the cloud infrastructure. I'm thinking to myself, there's a way I can do a lateral change, and we're using cloud in my environment. And I know that it pays better than what I'm currently doing, with combined with the skills I have. So why wouldn't I just do cloud, which would lead me to AI? So then I had to make an adjustment to my path. So I wrote that down, and then it kind of evolves over time, as you block your time and have something written down. Anyway, off a beaten path there. Let me see. Okay, I got some comments here. Chappelle said, currently doing A plus and Security Plus certification and finish in February. Also blocking time. That's really good. Like, you have a goal that you put it right. Just make sure you write it down. Do you suggest MSPs to get a entry level experience? I know that you preach lateral movement. Yeah. Yes. Any kind of entry level. You don't want to be too picky on entry level. It's a stepping stone. It's the very first step. Like, even if you take that step and the job sucks or it doesn't pay that well, you should rejoice, because that step you took is only the first step, right? Like, you have to make the first step. Most people don't make the first step. They change their mind, or they give up because they couldn't get a job fast enough, or they got too many rejections, and like, okay, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe can't go that way. They give up. You can't give up. You got to find, it's an iterative process where you go forward and you're like, okay, I took the wrong step here. Let me step to the left a little bit. All right. The left wasn't quite what I want to go. I'm going to step over here a little bit. It's iterative steps towards your goal. So the very first step, it's important just to take the step in the first place. So in whatever you can do on that first job is important, whether it's a cable guy, whether it's MSP, whether it's whatever, like if you're troubleshooting, doing customer support, whatever, that first step is huge. And the thing is, a lot of people can't even make that first step. I'm telling you, so many people can't even make that first step, because the first step is probably the hardest. The first step is probably the hardest, to be honest with you. Everything else after that is gravy. It just gets better after that. The first step's the hardest. If you can make that first step, that first foot in the door to whatever job, that's huge. From there, you can make a lateral change inside the company to level up, get more technical, or you can use the experience you have to go to another job, make more money than what you had before, after you've secured that job. The first step, secured that job. From there, you get certifications, fill out your profile online, start reaching out, and then, like, the biggest thing that I don't mention nearly enough, is the people you meet at the job. That's probably your biggest bank, is the people you meet at that job, who go on to go to other places and other career paths, and they pull you into their career, into their jobs. They'll say, hey, I know a good guy. I'm going to call him up. There, we have a position open. I'm going to call him and get, and then you end up making 10,000 more a year, because you knew this person who worked at your former job, at Verizon or whatever, wherever you happen to work. Let me see. I do have a clearance because of my military job as well. I'm still new to the military. Are there resources that could help me find that entry level job? So you're in the military right now. So in the military, what I would do, if you happen, I don't know, I'm trying to understand like what you're saying here, but if you happen to be still in the military, what I would do, regardless of what job you're in, let's say you're a firefighter in the Air Force, whatever, right? And you were like, I want to do IT. So right now, what I would do is, if I were you, is I would take full advantage of their tuition assistance to get a degree. They're gonna pay it. They're gonna pay for it They sometimes they even give you time to go fulfill that degree. That's what I would do if I were you. I would get a bachelor's degree at least. Um, while in the military, even if you're a firefighter, if you're doing customer support, whatever, lawyer, whatever, JAG, wherever you happen to be, doesn't matter. Get that free degree and certifications because they'll pay for those too. I get as many as possible and I go as high as I can go. Bachelor's degree with like a professional level cert would be fire. That's gonna get you in a lot of entry level positions. I mean, that's gonna get you probably better than entry level once you get out, if you happen to be in. While you're in, I would also do projects. I get a lot of hands-on. You can do schools like I think WGU or something. They have some like hands-on and mentorship programs that will they're not only giving you the degree, but you're getting some hands-on projects in there as well. So a degree program like that, which the military I believe will pay for, is what I would do. And what other resources? Yeah, so that's one of the best resources you could do while in the military is tuition assistance. And actually, even when you get out, you have variants of the GI Bill that you could use to still get that degree. That's what I would do. Take full advantage of that. You put your time in. Don't let that go to waste. It's free money. I mean, you did the work you made the sacrifice. And I think only like 1% of all Americans even go volunteer to go into the damn military. So you deserve it. Like, take it. But a lot of military, unfortunately, a lot of vets don't take advantage of it. Get your degree. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't. Like, just put time aside, get that free degree, get them to pay for your certifications. While you're doing that, do the projects on your way to the degree. That's what I would do if I were you. And then that's going to open up a whole bunch of doors, especially with security clearance. If it's an entry level job, it's going to be a pretty high paying entry level job. Okay, I got some other questions here on TikTok. I'm going to answer real quick. Let me go to the top here. Bear with me, guys. I'm on 3-4 different platforms here. What are some? Okay, let me see if there's another one above that. Just reading through experience here. Somebody said New York Black Honey says NYC Black Honey. I like your name. I'm studying for my Security Plus right now. I have experience in GRC. Okay, what kind of experience do you have? What kind of experience do you have in GRC? I'm curious. Because based on what kind, I can help you out. I can give you some guidance on what to do with which direction to go, what to expect. But that's a good start. If you already have GRC experience, Security Plus is a really marketable certification. It's going to validate the experience you already have. So it's definitely a great direction to go in. And then somebody said, wait, let me see if NYC responded. No, she did not. Okay. I'm going to the next question here. Somebody said, what are some entry level projects I should try? What are some entry level projects I should try to get into IT? There's a few. There's so many different things you can do these days. What I first did was projects I did, like I mentioned when I first started this, was that I bought a computer from Sears. Man, I'm old. Holy shit. Anyway, I bought a computer from Sears and it cost $3,000. It had like 1 gigabyte of RAM or something stupid. Anyway, so yeah, damn. I'm just thinking like out loud and it's like, damn, I'm fucking old. Anyway, bought a computer and then my first project was I wanted sound to happen to trigger when I turn my computer on. I turn my computer on and then it's supposed to come up with with a video and a sound. And at the time, you could do stuff. You can do something like that with the old version of Windows. I think you still can. Really, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why I was so obsessed with doing that. I wanted music to come up whenever I started my computer. Yeah, you could just go to startup configuration and you could have it start music or sound or something. And that's the first thing I wanted to do. So that project right there, number one, I didn't, for whatever reason, my computer sound didn't work. So the first thing I had to do was put sound in my computer. So I had to buy a sound card with the right slot, because they had, at the time, you had two different kinds of slots. You could ISA and PCI. They were battling at the time, and I didn't know which one to get. So I had to learn basic architecture. This is before I was a comm guy, before help desk, before I cross trained. I was a cop. This is the first project I did, one of the first ones. I'm modifying and upgrading my computer. Very simple, because I wanted a sound to play. I wanted the theme song to Don't Judge Me, Conan the Barbarian. This is crazy. Damn, I think I might be crazy. I might be out of my mind. Anyway, so I wanted Conan the Barbarian, the soundtrack. You remember that one where that Arnold Schwarzenegger played in? That one. The first one. I was obsessed with that movie for some time. It's so good. You know, I had James Earl Jones in it as like Thune, and then it had so many great lines in the movie. It was just such a good movie. I don't know why I was so obsessed with it at the time, but I was, you know. Anyway, so I wanted the theme song to play when you turn the computer on. I didn't have sound, so I had to figure out how to put sound on my computer, and then I had to figure out how to get it to work. Once I got the sound card in, I had to get the drivers to make that work. And then once the drivers were in, I had to figure out how to make the startup feature trigger that when you booted up the computer. So that was the first project. That was the very first project I did. Then another project I did was I wanted to write a program. I wanted to write a program that would talk to you. I had no idea about AI or anything back then. I just wanted a program that would you ask it a question, it would talk back. It would ask you, it would talk to you back and forth. And at the time, I was using a programming language called BASIC, because that was the only one I knew because I'd learned it in school, college or something. I learned a little bit of it in college, and I was fascinated by it. And so I started doing that, and I learned very quickly that you can't really do a lot with that programming language unless you write a lot of code, because it was limited. And I realized there's different kinds of languages that specialize for different things, you know. So BASIC probably is not the best language to do something like that in. You know, you need an object oriented. My point is, once I tried the project, I just tried and failed. Not that program, it was very limited. And then I realized BASIC, what hadn't been used for like 20 years, I realized it was outdated. So I had to go to another object-oriented language, and that was so confusing that I just completely failed that project, and then gave it up, and then was like, okay, I got to do something else. This is not what I want to do. Was another project I did. I did some projects when I went to college. The college I went to, we had a really good instructor who would have us bring our computers in, and we would set up a network, and then we'd have to all put firewalls in, and then we'd have to simulate this network and open up ports on the firewall and stuff like that. So that was another project I did. That was after I cross-trained into computers. What's another project? I would do all kinds of stuff with my computer. I would tear it apart, and I would upgrade it with more RAM. I would fast forward many years later, when I was way deeper into this, and I had a better understanding of what I needed to do. I started doing projects that would enhance my career. The first projects were just to kind of mess around and have fun, just to kind of get familiar with the technology. And that determined if I wanted to go further, and I did. Like, I was so obsessed. It's like Legos. It was like toys to me. Um, but when I cross trained into computers like I started learning about Linux, the difference between Linux and Microsoft. I started learning about different architectures of the hardware. I started learning about different commands you can use, command line interface, networking. And so all of these pieces start to be revealed to me that I need to get more serious. Like, I want to do more and go deeper into this. And I started one of the most impactful projects I did was I would set up honeypots. I would take a computer, make a virtualized instance on that computer. So I started learning VMware. And then I would connect it directly to the internet with no firewall, with no protection whatsoever, using Windows 7, and I would just surf the internet. I would just surf and click on whatever. And what I learned very quickly is how volatile and how adversarial the internet is. There's stuff constantly. There's all kinds of sites that are trying to infiltrate your system. There are people who was finding my system, immediately hacking it. And it was a virtualized. I didn't care about it. It wasn't connected to any of my network or internal stuff. I didn't put any personal information on it or anything like that. It was just a instance that I set up. I wanted to see really what I was trying to do is I wanted to learn how to remove malware. So I would intentionally infect the system by having nothing and then surfing the internet, downloading stuff. And at the time, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a bunch of sites that did screensavers, but a lot of them were like infested, right? You can if you went to like porn at the time, porn sites or any of those, they would infect the shit out of your computer. That, and then the other one would be like screensaver sites and all kinds of stuff like that. If it was just like some off-brand site that people would randomly put up, it wasn't from Microsoft, it wasn't from Google, it wasn't from any of the big companies. If it was just some random dude's site and had all these pop-ups and stuff, I would just go to that site and just download stuff. And it had viruses. Like, so I would infect my system, then I'd have to figure out how to remove it. And then I'd figure out what that malware was. And then I would use things like some tools, like some URL tools that would determine if it was. It just taught me a lot about virtualization. It taught me a lot about malware, different types of malware, how they behave, and then how to remove them. The difference between like a rootkit and a Trojan and say a worm, and then kind of the tactics they would use to do things to get you to click on things. It's since evolved. Like all of this is evolved. Like if I was doing it these days, if I was doing a project now, I'd probably do a cloud. In fact, I'm doing cloud projects right now. That's exactly what I'm doing because it's so easy. If you go to Azure or AWS or Google, they give you like a few months free to just mess around with their technology. You don't not even downloading anything. You make an account and then you start messing around with instances. You could start up a server, log into the server, secure it, put it on the internet, make a website, take it down, make it talk to other instances. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you could do is without downloading anything, you can go to Try Hack Me, which is like if you were trying to be a pen tester, they got a bunch of stuff where you just log into their website and they have like these virtualized instances where you're either attacking a website or figuring out why the website is it or how to secure it and stuff like that. So there's one called Hack the Box. There's one called Try Hack Me, and then there's some other ones that you could use. So those are all it depends on what direction you want to go in. It really depends on what direction you're trying to go for your career path. If you're an absolute beginner and you have to start where you are, you don't know anything, you're going to have to learn the basics of computing. So anywhere you start is going to be good. I would recommend if you know absolutely nothing with A plus curriculum, the curriculum of A plus, if you know absolutely, like if computers are magic and you have a hard time even turning them on, then I would start with the very, very basics, which is A plus, CompTIA A plus, because it has a really good curriculum. Another thing, if this is for the people who don't have the benefit of time or going to college or all that kind of stuff, or maybe you have a degree in something else and you're trying to make a transition, you need to learn the common body of knowledge. And so certifications, one of the great benefits of certs that I don't hear talked about is the curriculum it exposes you to. What I mean is, like, it has a path and a body of knowledge that's going to teach you. And once you learn all of those things, you start to really understand how it all works. You start to get it. And everybody has their own pace. Not all of us are born into this. I see some of my peers who also do these sites are very, very talented, and they've been doing it since they were kids. And it's very apparent because the way they talk, I can tell they've been doing it, and sometimes they even admit it. Like, give you a specific example. Simone Bees is a prodigy. Like, she started at age 19 as a programmer, and now she's making like 200 plus, probably $500 million a year doing this stuff, right? She's not a normal person. So I came in super late. My path wasn't a teenager. Even one of my mentors, like this dude Ramsey, man, this fucking guy. Uh, this dude, I believe he's a bit younger than me, and he started off really young doing IT stuff. And that dude, his mom was a software engineer, right? So it's generational for him. It's like nothing to him. And he's one of the most brilliant IT professionals. He's more like a scientist than an IT guy, to be honest with you. Um, but that dude's not, like, he started off really young. So a lot of my peers, they started off like in their teens doing messing around with computers. That's not me. I started off when I was damn near 30. I was damn near 30 when I started all this stuff. And I really dug it. I'm like, damn, this is really cool. I really like this stuff. So it depends on where you start. Like, where you start really matters. And then, you got to start where you are. I would encourage you to do a lateral change if it's possible. If you're starting off from nothing, you got to start off with the basics. Let me see. I'm an ISO, Information System Security Officer, ComSec guy. I'm wanting to get out of the cleared areas. What should I look at to start? So this is a journey I've had a couple times. I've been doing this long enough, Chris, to where my entire adult life has been with the federal government, and I'd always had a clearance up until very recently. Um, how did I get out of the federal government? I was out of the federal government for about 3 years. But before that, I'd only known like the DOD, not just feds. I was in the DOD for a good 15 years. And that's all I knew. And so I was very afraid to lose that clearance. I know you know what I'm talking about, because that clearance is like a blanket. Like, that clearance, like, if you have that clearance, you could be dumb as a box of rocks and still get a good ass job. You know what I'm talking about? There's some guys that, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, how did I get out of it? So I was working at NASA. So yeah, let me back up. So in the DOD, to get out of the DOD, what did I do? I had a few different steps. I started putting myself out there. So the very first thing I did, I was a contractor. So first I was in the military. I was in the military for 8 years, where I was security forces or security police for 4 of those years. And then 4 of those years, I was an IT guy in the military. Did all kinds of stuff, had a clearance, all that kind of stuff. Got out, I was a contractor working for the Army. And then I was working for the Air Force as a contractor. So I did that for like 5-6 years or something. And then I just kind of, like, I don't know, I hit this wall where I was losing my technical skills. I was bored. I was just absolutely bored with just doing documentation stuff. I mean, it paid all right. I was wanting to do something else. You know what I mean? I just got really bored. I really enjoyed having hands on. I really enjoyed solving harder problems. I really like it. It's like a puzzle for me. I enjoyed it. So I was like, man, I got to do something else. So I started putting myself out there, and I started off with something akin to what I'm doing now, which is like I would just tell people. I made a blog, right? This is the first thing I did. I made a blog and started helping other people do ISO stuff because I noticed nobody at the time. Nobody was talking about it. I'm telling you, nobody. Now, so many people have joined in this fray. It's gotten a lot bigger. I'm seeing all kinds of people who are very popular doing this stuff, way more popular than me, been doing it way shorter time, which is crazy. But they're killing it. And now everybody's talking. But at the time, I was like the only one. I think I was one of 3 people who was doing it outside of some major corporations that were doing it. So I got a lot of attention at the time. And somebody out of the blue saw my website, and they asked me if I could teach it. And I said yes. This small company reached out to me directly because I was putting my stuff out there. And they said, hey, could you teach this? And I said, sure. And that job I did for about a year. They ended up hiring me. That was my first time I made 6 figures, by the way. And they hired me, and I was teaching for like 1 year. I'd go from place to place, and I didn't need a clearance for that. So that was one way I got out of the cleared space. And then after that, the next job that I did I didn't need a clearance at all was no, NASA. I did need one. I did need one there. I got contacted again, another one where I'm just doing this kind of thing where I'm just talking or doing videos or doing websites or writing about it and stuff. And then a few small companies have contacted me, and I would do work for them on the side where they were using my clearance, weren't they? Because I had a clearance. So, but I didn't technically have to have a clearance, but I was writing their documents. They do a background check, but that's not the same as a clearance. So yeah, the couple of those small organizations, I didn't need to have a clearance to do those. I was just writing their documents or rewriting their policies or something like that. Taking it closer to now, I worked for Verizon about 4 years ago, and Verizon was 100% private is a 100% private organization. We didn't have any the division I worked in, we didn't have any contracts with the government, so I didn't need a clearance for that. And that job right there, how I got it was I started putting other things besides my background in federal government. So federal government, if you're trying to get a GRC job in the federal government, you're going to put certain things that it's going to get your foot in the door. And that's like NIST 800, risk management framework, FISMA, FedRAMP. There's these key words in plan of action and milestone. It's system security plan. If you put those words in your resume somehow and you explain how you are able to use them or your background, you doing all that stuff, you will get contacted. You've got to word it in the right way. But if you put those things I just said in your resume, the government will contact you. And you have a clearance, they'll contact you. Here's the trick. Every industry has words like that. So what I did was I was like, man, I don't necessarily want to just work for the federal government. I want to broaden my horizons. I started realizing every organization has their own GRC, and they have their own keywords that are just like those trigger words that the DoD is looking for. I started using those words. Things like ISO 27001. The federal government U.S. federal government doesn't normally need or use ISO 27001. But you know who does? A bunch of federal companies do. A bunch of international companies, I should say, and organizations use ISO 27001 because it's used internationally outside of the U.S. a lot. Another one is if you were going to go into I don't know, healthcare, HIPAA, of course, HIPAA, HIT Trust. There's certain things that the healthcare organizations use that if you can find a way to get it on your resume, um, it will trigger. You will get contacted by them. Outside of the federal government, you will get contacted by these different organizations. So, how did I do this? I started learning other frameworks. I started learning. I think the first outside network, outside certification or framework I got exposure to was like SOC 2, and another one was ISO 27001. So I mentioned that on my resume, and then I start getting contacts from other organizations outside of the federal government. Another one is tools. There's certain tools that the U.S. government uses a lot. If you put those tools on your resume, they will contact you. Uh, it's the same goes for the retail sector, healthcare sector, you name it. If you have access to those tools and you put them on your resume, if you learn those tools, you will get contacted outside of the federal government. That is how I got those access to those jobs, those different jobs. I mean, another thing was I kept in contact with, and this is a big one. I kept in contact with some people who I worked with, and I was a good worker, so they contacted me. And one of them happened to be not working completely outside of the government, and they were working at an organization's private. So that's how I got the job at Verizon. That was how I got the job at Verizon. So somebody who I'd been working with in NASA, she went over to work for Verizon, and then she contacted. We just stayed in contact. We would just say what's up every now and then, we lost just one day. It's weird. That same day, we lost the contract with NASA. The company I worked for lost the contract. She just happened to contact me and say, "Hey, how's it going?" I was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" and I said, "Yeah, we just lost our contract." She says, "Hey, we need somebody to work here. Do you need a job?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." So yeah, that's a few different ways. I put myself out there like this, like doing content, stuff like that. I've gotten a few different not positions, but kind of odd jobs here and there doing this kind of thing. Another one was on my resume, I mentioned things that were outside of the federal government. ISO 27001 was one of them. Different tools they use, like Qualys, they don't really use that outside the middle, like different tools. Make sure you list all the tools you're using, even if you're doing like some stuff on your personal, like list those tools, because some organization outside of the federal government will be using it. Frameworks and stuff outside of the federal government, they'll use those. And then, of course, keep in contact. Don't burn bridges. Keep in contact with people, because you never know. Like some of the people that you work for, some of your old peers, you might even have contact connections with them on LinkedIn right now. They're probably working for Google. They might be working for Meta. They might be working for, name a company. You reach out to them every now and then. Say what's up. See if they have positions. I mean, worst they could say is no, right? Like I've been rejected. I've contacted some folks that I that I knew was like, hey man, you guys got nope, sorry, we don't have anything, or maybe they didn't want to work with me or something. I don't know. But yeah, those are the three main ways, and it's worked for me. It's worked for me. I mean, I'm working in the federal government still. But I have a way out. Like I have an emergency escape hatch that I can go. And what's surprising, and this is the last thing I'll say. What's surprising is I was really afraid to lose that security clearance when I first made the move, because that clearance, I knew how much power it was. You know what I mean? Like I knew having a secret RTS was powerful because it limits how many people I have to compete with, and it has a certain little bump to it when you have that clearance. But now I have the opposite feeling. I don't want a clearance anymore. I don't want to have it. I don't want to rely on it. And I can probably make more money without it, to be honest with you. Um, you'd be surprised. Like, one thing that shocked me, Chris, was that you said, I know exactly what you mean. TSSCI since 2020. Yeah, man. I had the same thing, man. I had that clearance and I was really afraid to let that go. But what I realized is that there's an entire planet outside of the US government. There's so many opportunities. And I know that there's a lot going on right now. All the more reason you should make yourself more available to other industries, because that's one thing about it. Like, no matter, like, right now they're having all these dumbass fucking Doge layoffs for no fucking reason. And I apologize for my cursing. I'm very upset about it. It really makes me angry. Because it just doesn't make any sense. I came from an organization where it's very political, and they're appeasing one person, and it makes no sense. Especially, we have a bigger mission than one damn person. You know what I mean? Anyway, okay, I'm not gonna go down that path, but I'm very angry about it. I could do this whole 2 hours just bitching about that. Anyway, back on course. Oh, all right. So where was I? So yeah, so I was very dependent on the TSSCI, and what I realized is that it was a crutch. It was a crutch. It was a crutch for me for many years, and now I realize, having expanded my skill set, there's other industries that pay better, much better, and treat you better than the U.S. government. And because I'm not reliant on it. I could get a job anywhere, bro. I could work in another country. I think the US is the boss as far as pay. I mean, I think the US has the best paying jobs. Like, if you go and work for one, especially if you work for like a Netflix, or you go with, I don't know, like Apple or some, they pay really well. Like, no, there's not too many countries or companies on planet Earth that are going to be able to compete with that. So pay wise, you're not going to do much better than a US company. That's just a fact. But that said, there are so many opportunities as a whole out there that are going to pay you pretty good for what you do, for your skill set. So, and there's some US companies that will pay you and you can live abroad, or travel, or whatever you're going to do, work from home, whatever. Um, and if you're trying to stay in the US, even better. I mean, if you're not trying to work, if you're okay with working in the office, man, there's some other industries that pay better and treat you better with better benefits than having that shackle of that clearance. You don't need it. With your skills, don't need it. Huge eye opener for me. Let me see. I struggle talking to my coworkers in my help desk job. What do you even talk about to network? Forgive me for my ignorance, but how is this the same person? Oh, it's a different person. Okay, so they said I struggle talking to my coworkers in my help desk job. What do you even talk about to network? Um, I don't. I talk to different people. For me personally, I'm definitely an introvert. I mean, it's weird. Like, how's an introvert doing this channel and talking, doing that stuff? But I'm an introvert. I'm one of the most extreme introverts that I've known. But when I'm at work, I've found different things to connect with different people with, and I'm open minded enough to where I can talk to anyone. And I think the military gave me that. My mom and the military, I would say. I'm from California, and in California, it's so diverse. I did not. I took for granted how diverse California was. California is one of the most diverse. Sacramento is where I'm from, and that place is so diverse that I had no idea until I moved out of it how diverse it was. So much so that it was been a shock for me to go to other countries or other states even, Montana was a huge shock for me. Montana is like 98% white or something. I mean, there's some Indians there. I mean, there's Native Americans there, but mostly it's white. And it's fine. I mean, I didn't have any problems there. It was all right. There was a couple run-ins or whatever, but it's not nothing to no big deal. Um anyway, California is so diverse that I got exposure to all walks of life. Very rich people. I met people very wealthy. I met people very poor. I met every kind of culture. Um from the Middle East. I knew people, moderate Muslims from the Middle East, who we just hang out and make raps with. I knew um, I'm from the fucking hood. I mean, I'm from the hood. But I ran around with my friend just down the street. It was like a suburbanite, half Japanese and white kid who was really good at math. And we used to hang out and talk about comic books and science and stuff like that. And then there are, like down the street further, there's a couple of comic book nerds I used to hang out with and make comic books with. Two white dudes. One guy's dad was a cop. Um, and then I also knew like hood dudes who like sold drugs. Like I had such a diverse. I'm not enforcing anything here. I'm just saying that I had this diverse collection of people that allowed me to. I could talk to anyone because I would find something to connect with them with, um, even if I didn't agree with them. Right? Like I don't have to agree with them. And then when I went to the military, I met even more diverse. There was even more diversity, and so in the military, you have to work with all. You don't necessarily like or want to be buddies with these people that you're working with. Some of them, they have a very racist background or whatever, right? We don't agree with one another, but you have a certain mission that you have to do. So you find things to you find ways to connect with them, and you find out like as you talk to them, you're not that much different from one another. It's weird. Like it's weird these little mountains we die on, and then we end up losing these connections with people who they're really not that much different from us. And that that that's an amazing realization that I've had. Like I've had the benefit of being around so many different types of people that always keep an open mind, and it doesn't hurt to. You don't have to agree with them to see from their point of view. Um, seeing from their point of view doesn't mean you agree or disagree with them. It just means you see why they feel a certain way, maybe. Right? That's it. You just see, and then you can just let them talk sometimes. What I do is just let people talk. I listen. It's not even about talking. You just listen to them. Listen, and then you'll find things to connect on. You don't have to agree with them. You don't even have to like them. But if you ever work with somebody who's really cool, but they suck at the job, or somebody you fucking hate at the job, but they're really good at their job. You ever like I know you know what I'm talking about. To be honest, I'd rather work with somebody I don't like that works really hard with me than somebody I really like. That it's even worse if I really like them, but they don't do work. I'd rather work with somebody I don't like who works, to be honest with you. Because at the end of the day, I'm just trying to do a job. And at the very least, we could just talk about the job itself. And we can find things to connect on. And if they start talking about like crazy ass politics I don't necessarily agree with, I'll listen to them and then try to see from their perspective. That's what I'll do. I'll listen and be like, well, and then I'll ask questions like, well, what about this? I'm just curious to know how they got there. How did they get to this place where they believe these things? I'm so curious. And that's how I connect with people, and it's worked. And I'm an introvert. But it's fascinating to know why people believe the way they do. Um, Somebody said, "Forgive my ignorance, but how do you find projects to build a portfolio?" Depends on what you're trying to do. These days, you got things like GitHub where you can actually build a portfolio of your work. You can build a portfolio online where you start creating things. These days, you can create something online that's useful to yourself or others, post it online, and take screenshot. Like if you're building a computer, you could like take pictures of every step of the way and post that online. You can put it on GitHub. You can put it on your own personal website. You can put it on a separate social media website. Start building that out. But it's not even necessarily something you want to show. It's something that you start to build over time. So where you get into an interview, if you get to a point where you're in an interview, you can actually talk about your projects and what you've done. Um, and those will be pretty impressive, especially if you've done some of the things that they're doing in their company. All right, let me see. Security expert said, "Yeah, the majority of my income now comes from non-government contracts. However, like you, Bruce, I used to have a slight concern for my security clearance too." Yeah. Yeah, like right now, I have a mixture of different incomes, and I would encourage everybody, like especially now, like we got to stick together. And I'm telling y'all, man, like you can't just have one income, man. You just can't do it. Like not in this day and age. It's not like we don't live in the 60s or 50s or 70s anymore, where you could just rely on one income and make it and buy a house and shit like that. Like those days are gone. Now a good portion, a slice of my income comes from a whole nother, from non employee jobs. So um yeah, that's another thing about building out your skill set. And Rob Rodriguez said something that stuck with me the last time we had a talk. He said, you shouldn't gather the skills just for getting a job. You shouldn't do the skills just for getting a certification. You should focus on skills for yourself. And when he first said it, it kind of like went in one ear and out the other, but he's absolutely, the more I think about it, that's exactly what I do. So some of the skills that I've learned, I did it for myself. I did it because I like it. And sometimes these days, I'll do it to get more information. ConvoCourses is a conversation I get to have with other like-minded GRC people. It's a benefit for me as much as it is for you guys. It's a way for me to talk to other like-minded people who do this job, because I don't get the opportunity all the time to talk to people. So it's an outlet for me. It's a personal, selfish thing that I do that just so happens to be something where I can connect with great people like you guys. Who have these awesome skill sets, and then I can learn from people like Professor Black Ops. Like, oh, he's breaking down AWS, and then talking about, oh yeah, by the way, you should get the SAA certification. Oh yeah, by the way, and then he's saying these like gems of knowledge that I do it, and then I see why he said that. I'm like, oh shit, that's why he said that. And I have these like little, I get to talk to you guys who have this, don't even know how valuable the knowledge that you're spitting is. I get to sit at your feet, and then you tell me these gems, and then I use it. The skills that you develop in IT, GRC, networking, cloud, AI, whatever, use it for yourself. That's my point. Like, not just to get the cert. Obviously, the money, right? Like, obviously, that bag is a target, but there's other things that are going to contribute to that bag, not just to the bag, but to your life. Um, and so do it for yourself. Like get the skill set for yourself. Whether it's building your own local AI so that you can talk directly to it without your information being leaked on OpenAI or DeepSeek or whatever, and then you can just put your information locally, and now you can ask that AI in the privacy of your own home, and now you've made a project where you're doing an AI. Or you're making a hell, I made one. I did a project where I was looking for jobs. Like, this was like 3 months ago. I did a project where I made this. I made a GPT, and one of these days I want to share it. Where it found jobs for me. I used AI to find jobs. It pulled all the jobs, it gave me a report, and gave me links that I can click on and take me to those jobs. Outside of LinkedIn, outside it really works. And do stuff just not just for getting the cert or for the organization. Do it for yourself too. And those skill sets are going to open up all kinds of other doors. All kinds of other doors open up. Okay, let me see. I got some more people here. We've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes. I can't go too much longer. I have got to go soon, guys, but it's been a pleasure talking to you. Let me see. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are interested, I still have that book out there, the AWS CCP book. It's not free anymore, but it's still down to like 99 cents. The reason why I do this is going to go up. The price will go up, but I do this because I'm trying to get reviews. So if you could be so kind as to go get the book, download it, or if you have KDP, if you had KDP, if you pay for KDP, you can still get the book for free. Download it, check it out, and just give me like a little review. But even just you opening up the book actually helps me out. Let me see. Chris says I got my MBA in 2023, hoping to use that as a stepping stone out. Yes, that's cool. Business is a great way to go. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I kind of got tired of. I wanted to do more stuff. I got into IT because I like to solve puzzles. I enjoy it. It's just fun for me. And when I stopped getting away from that, like when I was just doing pure documentation, I like writing, but when you're just doing policies, it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like, I love writing. It's probably the thing I love the most. But if you're just doing a policy kind of writes itself. It's not a challenge. Not for me. How long do I stay in desktop support? This is a great question. Like, if you're starting off, I always tell people go to the help desk, go to field tech, go to customer support, whatever. But this person's question, Darlene's question, is how long do I stay on desktop support? I would say it was more of a not time frame, more of a quality thing. Like, if you can gather what you need off the help desk, leave as soon as possible. You go work for a help desk job and they teach you everything. You guys are doing a bunch of VMware with a little bit of cloud sprinkled in. And you took 6 months and you went through a couple courses while you're there and you've got all the experience and you feel comfortable enough. Maybe 6 months is all you need, and then try to make a lateral change to the tier 2 guys who do pure server work or firewalls. Like, try to make a lateral move over to the firewall guys after 6 months. If you can, if it's possible, do it as soon as possible. I mean, if it's possible that if they open up something for you within 1 month, a week of you getting on the help desk, and there's a lateral change you can move, take it. Why wouldn't you take it? But I get what you're saying. You're saying, okay, I got this job. I'm in the door. I don't want to do help desk forever. Like, I'm thinking I want to move out of this company. So I'm thinking if that's the direction you want to go. What I'm saying is, don't limit yourself. Don't just look at, I'm going to go to another company. Think about staying there and leveling up within the company as soon as possible. Look for jobs you'd be surprised. There probably a job title within that organization. You can make a lateral move where you're in the same company, You know all their lingo, you know their process, and they have a, let's say you want to be a pen tester, and they have a junior pen tester role where they're going to train you on the job. You already know the environment because you worked in help desk. You'll be really easier to train than probably somebody who's coming fresh out of college who has all the pen testing certs and degrees or whatever. You'll be easier because you already know the environment, right? You could do that probably. If they have the job, is there available, just apply for it. But if you're talking about, okay, well, I'm at this job here and I want to I want to upgrade to go to another position in another company. I see what you mean. Um, I'd say probably 6 months, 6 months on the help desk and then try to level up, you know, but really it's not really a time frame thing. I stick to that. It's not really time frame. It's about if you can make a lateral change immediately, then do it. Like if you feel comfortable enough that you can make a lateral change inside the company, do it immediately. Hell, if you feel comfortable enough and you get an offer or an opportunity to another place that makes more money, that's going to train you more, maybe move immediately to the other place. There's no time frame. It's really about quality. How much you were able to get out of the company before you leave, and how much you were able to give. Because truthfully, if you were able to give quite a bit in a short period of time, and you were able to put that on your resume and you shine, you might get more opportunities. That might be something where it gives you more opportunities. David says, finishing up my master's degree in cybersecurity and currently studying for the CISSP. I have a Security Plus cert and a security clearance. And then he goes on to say, will getting my CCNA help me as I'm working on the CISSP? No. I'm just going to be honest with you, David. Like I took the CCNA and I took the CISSP, and they're very, very different. I took the CCNA a long time ago, but it's okay. Let me explain. Okay. CISSP is very, very broad. It's not going to go into networking very much. Like it's going to stay at the OSI model and TCP/IP level. It's going to stay at a very simple level, and it might go a little bit lower in that it addresses security concerns at each layer of the OSI model and each layer of the TCP/IP stack. So in that way, there is some crossover between the two, but that's about where it stops. The CCNA goes super deep in one thing, which is networking using Cisco devices. So they're going to talk about things like backing up a router or a switch. They're going to talk about the connectivity between this type of router and this type of switch. They're going to talk about the operating system, the iOS, upgrading iOS, different commands in the iOS. They're going to talk about stuff like that. They're going to talk about the differences between config T and when you first log into the system, like a normal login standard user and the admin user, the roles between those two, things like that. It's going to be in the weeds on Cisco devices. CISSP does not touch any of that kind of stuff. It stays at a layer where it's talking about you'll be solid on the networking questions. I'll tell you that. Like all the networking questions that they ask on the CISSP, you'll be solid. Like you won't have no problem with the networking questions. If you study for the CCNA, you'll be completely covered on all the networking part. But the problem is networking is like one part of one domain, one part of 5 domains in the CISSP. or 7, however many domains they have now. I haven't looked at it in a while. But that's one part. They're going to talk about cryptography, which CCNA is not going to help you with that. They're going to talk about information security management. CCNA doesn't touch on any of that. 8 domains. Somebody said 8 domains. So it's going to help you with the only overlap between those two would be the networking piece. It's going to cover the networking piece pretty comprehensively, like way beyond. CCNA goes way deep into the networking piece, that parts that CISSP does not touch. What else? I would say probably more overlap. There's more overlap with Security Plus and CISSP. There's more overlap with those two. It's just that the CISP is like a very advanced version of the Security Plus. Like if you want an example of like what to expect, it's going to be more like a very advanced version. It's going to be like a more advanced version of the Security Plus than it is, and it'll just kind of touch one tiny slice, one tiny intersection between CCNA and CISSP, whereas Security Plus has 4 or 5 different connections. Will getting my CCNA help me as I'm working? Not really. I mean, a little bit from the security portion of it, but that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, they're 2 different things, man. They're completely 2 different things. Yeah, Security Plus would be a better refresher for you, to be honest with you. Unless they've changed everything and it goes super deep in the network, which I doubt it. CCNA is no joke, by the way. So that's a pretty hard test. But congrats on everything else. I mean, you got your master's degree, finishing up your master's degree. That's awesome. That's like a 10% raise anywhere you go. CISSP is incredible for jobs. It's going to open up all kinds of jobs. And then you have a clearance. So yeah, man, congrats on that. That's huge. That is gigantic. Okay, let me see. I got some other questions here. Thanks, Ancient and Modern, for that, for your 2 cents. Talking about the 8 domains of CISSP. I totally can't remember. I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I'm out of here. And again, guys, there's still that for a limited time, the AWS cert book that I just put out there, 99 cents, or free if you happen to be a subscriber on KDP. Also, right now for free, join ConvoCourses. We've got a slowly growing community of like-minded professionals. So if you like this kind of conversation and I'm not the only expert on there. I'm not the only guy in the field who works in cybersecurity. We've got other people on there who's offering free courses. I got a program manager who just contributed some free content. We've got Ryan's on there, the guy who wrote the Mango, which talks about, it's a free guide that walks you through the CGRC, which is a certification from the ISC2 squared. So he's on there too. And he's actually writing one for Security Plus right now, a free guide for Security Plus, which is awesome. Shout out Ryan. Let me see here. More questions on TikTok. No sound detected. Interesting. You're not going to ask You're not going to be asked multiple choice questions on the job. Yeah. Is AI governance an emerging field? Yeah. Yeah. It is. I'm seeing more jobs for AI governance. It is emerging in that there's not a lot of jobs for it, but I am seeing them crop up. And then at my job, as we've started to use AI more and more, it's come up. It's definitely come up a couple times. We're having to deal with different ethical issues or different security issues with AI. It's not a lot of positions for specifically for that. Looking in the field, like in my last job, we just started introducing AI stuff. They just let like in the beginning, they said, hey, everybody, you can use AI. Here's how you use it. They had like a few classes on how to use it. We had an AI um, governance person come in and was teaching about like what you can and can't do with it. And they let us use whatever tool. But then after about 6 months, when all of these hacks started happening, and I don't know if you remember, but a couple of those systems got hacked. China released DeepSeek, and OpenAI had this. It wasn't a hack; it was more like a leak of information of people's prompts got leaked, and the government started to understand more of like the risk. This was like last year, and then they said, "Okay, guys, like we got." They start scaling back on the use of AI. And now this new organization, part of the organization I'm in, we're using AI, but it's a version that's not able to touch the internet directly. So it's a chat session that's only on our network, that's trained on our information, it's not super useful, to be honest with you. It's kind of limited. They need to work on that thing. But yeah, there are AI governance stuff that's propping up, but it's not a lot. It's really an emerging field, which is the reason why I decided to do cloud stuff, because that is more right now as it's starting to scale. Companies like OpenAI are reaching out to Amazon and Google and Azure, because they need the cloud infrastructure in order to work properly. They need to make containers to satisfy customers who have all these different prompts and questions and stuff. So I would argue that's more in demand right now and more on the rise, cloud, than an AI governance person. I know, because I've been looking for jobs like that. Larry, what's up, man? Shout out Larry. Let me see. Got some other TikTok questions here. I'm not gonna be on here too much longer, guys, but I'm gonna answer talk about a couple more of these. Let me see. Um that I had one more here. Entry level projects. You got a security clearance in the Air Force, in that Air Force role? Okay. This is somebody asked me when I was talking earlier about me being in the Air Force. They said, you got a security clearance in that Air Force role. Yeah. When I was in the Air Force, I did security forces, physical security, and then I cross trained into computers, and both of those required a clearance. One a secret clearance, and then one TSSCI, top secret, compartmentalized information, whatever the hell it is, clearance. And so when I got out, that did contribute to me getting another job in the federal government with DOD. But that said, you don't have to have a clearance to get a cybersecurity job. They do a background check. They will conduct a background check on you, but that is not the same as a security clearance, if that makes any sense. Security clearance is normally if you need access to secret information with the government, with the US government or whatever government you are in, they'll normally, and the only way you can access that secret information, it's the same thing with Canada, Uganda, UK, whatever, right? Choose your country and your country's government. They need to have a certain level of trust with you. So they're going to do not just a background check, but a way more extensive investigation into you as a person. And that is going to, then they might even have like an interview where they ask you specific questions about where you've been or what your allegiances are, things like that for that country. It's because it's very serious, right? You're dealing with possibly national secrets that can impact the whole country. And so the background, the investigation, all the documents you fill out, everything they do together is going to determine whether you get that security or secret clearance. A background check is something I've had at almost every organization I've worked for. And that's just them making sure, doing basic things like you didn't, they want to make sure you're going to work for this bank. We want to make sure you never robbed a bank. And they could do that very easily. They could just they get your social security number. They run that, see if you have a criminal background. Okay, you had some parking tickets. You got jail time for what? DUI. Okay. Is this person trustworthy to do this job? Yes or no, right? There's not like an investigation. A background check with an investigation to get you a clearance is different from just a regular job background check where they're checking your P and making sure and checking your criminal background check and stuff like that. And then like, okay, well, this guy's good. Or talking to your old boss. You know, everybody has that. Normally security jobs, cybersecurity jobs have that. Sometimes like people are confused about security clearance versus a security job. It's really not the same. It's not the same thing. You don't need a security clearance to do a cybersecurity job. I just noticed the questions are kind of strange because it keeps coming up. Let me see. Okay, I got another one here from the Jedi Solution. He says, "Hello, sir. Industry wide, do you see most corporations having a security operations center analyst do the work of a security operations center and security information event manager engineers? Do you see this becoming normalized?" Do I see most companies having a SOC analyst do the work of an engineer? It seems to be at most of the large organizations I worked for. Okay, so let me put it to you like this. I've done all these jobs. I was an analyst. I was a SOC analyst. I was a SOC engineer. And what I'll say, and then I've worked for many different types of organizations, mostly large organizations. They normally try to keep it separate. The good organizations who are large, and if they have the money and the budget to do it, then they're usually going to have those two separate. And normally, if they have enough money to have a SOC, which is a security operations center, they normally have enough money to have it separate. So 9 times out of 10, it's separate. A SOC, and just for those of you don't, let me bring you guys into this conversation. So a security operations center is where an organization has a bunch of people dedicated to all they do is detect anomalies, meaning possible security events. Are we being hacked? Is somebody sending a denial of service attack? Do we have malware on our network? And that's all they do 24 hours. Like they're looking at logs all day long, right? And most of 99% of it is nothing. It's just regular operations. But there's 1% that is something. And they're looking for that needle in a haystack. They're looking for that 1% of something that might end up being way bigger. And it does happen, right? It does happen. So, and that 1% could turn into, could take over to do a lot of crazy damage. So that's what a SOC is for. Like, it's a group of people that all they do is detect and sit down in front of a computer. They do 12-hour shifts looking at logs. Sounds crazy, but that's what analysts do. The analyst just looks at logs. Now they have tools to help them that, AI can actually find some things that are interesting traffic that brings it up to a person that they can look at it and say, okay, what is this? Oh, it's a false positive. Or let me ask this person to see what it is. I'm going to go ask the network team to figure out why we're getting this traffic from this source on this port. What is going on? It's happened 15 times in the last hour or whatever. So that is a SOC analyst. Now, SOC engineer is somebody who fixes the equipment. And that is a big difference because you need somebody who's going to constantly have eyeballs on that traffic. You absolutely need some. And if they're fixing the computer, how can they have eyeballs on the traffic? And then you need somebody who's sophisticated enough to know how to connect all of that data, get those logs going into the analyst view. And it's got to be accurate information. Like, the timestamps have to be correct. You've got to have it coming from specific. It's not going to be from you don't want all the traffic. You only want the most critical information. You want the best data coming to them so that they can have the best responses and have the best opportunity, give them a better opportunity to find interesting anomalies or security incidents and stuff. So that's two separate jobs. They're both touching the same equipment, but in a different way. One is looking at logs, one is setting up everything and then maintaining it, making sure it's running. You have to have those two. If you mix them up, how can the guy doing the logs fix the system? Now, that said, I have been in a place where I did both. Like, I was in one organization where we had very little staff, and our traffic was light, so it wasn't a big deal. So I was doing, if it went down, I fixed it. And then if they needed me to set something up, I would do that too. But I was also looking at the logs from time to time. But that said, we didn't have that much traffic. We didn't have that much equipment. It wasn't like we were a pipeline of a lot of data. We would just have some data coming in here and there. Do I see this most organizations having a SOC? And yeah, most of them that I've had it separate. It's kind of got to be, because you just don't have time to do. You don't have time to do both. Like, you just don't. If you're serious about detecting anomalies, you can't have your engineer sitting there watching all this stuff. Like, it's got to be a separate thing. So yeah, I don't see that changing. It has to remain separate for the time and the skill set. It's a completely different skill set. That's another thing. Like, to be an engineer, you don't necessarily have to know. You don't have to know all the tools that a SOC analyst does. Like, as a SOC analyst, we had to know. I think we had to have access to a SIEM, an IDS, an IPS, and then some like tools like Nmap, and then like, what was it? PCAP data, Wireshark, all these different, and then even some forensics tools. We had access to all these different tools to do our job. And we had to know a little bit about each one and like what to look for in each one. It got very, very deep in the weeds, so where you're actually breaking the packet apart and looking at the hexadecimals and all that kind of stuff. It got really deep. Whereas a network, where as an engineer, a SIEM engineer, where you're only fixing one device. Like, I was only doing our SIEM, which was, at the time we were using ArcSight. So I just knew that. And then the ArcSight itself had a bunch of parts to it. I had to know Linux. When it was on a Linux platform, I had to know Microsoft. If it was on a Microsoft server, I had to know Oracle, because it used Oracle at the time. And then I had to know how Oracle talked to Linux, and then the commands that were used to start and stop the logs. And that was my world. So if something broke in that stack, I had to understand that. I didn't have to know Wireshark. I didn't have to know Silk or all that stuff was pushed to the side. I don't have to do work on that. That's a whole different thing. I had to know Linux, Oracle, and the commands, and then if I had to make accounts and for people, I had to know how to do that on ArcSight, and then I had to know what was the other thing, networking, of course, to hook it all up together. So those, it's completely different things. So yeah, it kind of has to remain separate if you're serious about detecting anomalies. Like you don't really have a choice in the matter. All right, let me see if I have any other. Okay, let me see. Larry says, "Be advised that this administration is a little more allegiance focused. To be aware, answer questions, answer interview questions to fit the answers properly, regardless of political affiliation." And then he says, "My 2 cents. I'm seeing more political allegiance based rhetoric at my current place of employment in the federal government." Yeah, and that's the problem. Like at the place I was at last time, well, no, like right now, as we speak, if if I say something, and this is something I've never seen before in the United States of America, if I'm saying something about, if I was popular enough, right? Luckily, I'm a nobody. Like I got 9 people watching here on YouTube, and I got 7 people watching on TikTok, right? Nobody, I could say whatever I wanted. Probably nobody, it would not get back to anybody because I'm tiny. But let's say I was larger, like I was Simply Cyber, right? Simply Cyber is huge, and I said some shit about. Let me say some shit about the the current administration, and then I work for them. Yeah, they would know my name, and then I get fired. That's what would happen if right now my federal boss got wind of me saying anything about this administration. I am fired. I'm sure I am fired. They are very sensitive. They are some snowflake, flimsy, cannot take criticism babies. They are some fucking babies. I've never seen anything like this before. It's unbelievable. I'm worried. Like, keep in mind, these are not just. Look, I work for these people. They are babies. Uh, yeah, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, I think I've worked for four different administrations, and you could. There was nothing. It never even came up. Like you could say things like you didn't agree with the people that you work with all the time. I didn't agree with everything Bush. I really did not like many of the things Bush. Hell, even Obama and in Clinton, I didn't agree with many of the things they did. Especially when it has to do with war. 9 times out of 10, I don't want to do it. Like it's not. I don't think it's right. I mean, maybe I trust them enough to say, okay, maybe they see some things I don't. It's got to be like they got to be seeing something that I don't see. But that comes with a lot of trust, right? Like I trust that okay, they're seeing something that I don't see. That maybe that's why we're doing these things. Yeah, I've never seen anything like this before. Um, you can't really speak your mind. If you were in an interview, I don't really know, and that's one of the reasons I got it. That's another reason I got to get out of the federal government because I don't want to put myself in a place where I have to be challenged on what I believe. Like I'm here to do a job. My job is to secure systems, not to agree with you about politics or religion or any of that. That's not our agreement. In my mind, that's not the agreement. My agreement is to do work. I'm not gonna agree with most people. I could tell you I'm a weirdo. I'm strange. I know how strange I am. I'm not gonna agree with most people, but that doesn't mean we can't be neighbors, right? That doesn't mean we can't live in the same country and have different beliefs. I thought that's what America was all about. So, yeah, man, I have to agree with you on that one. I don't know what's going on where we have to agree with these people. Like, I don't know where this I see I if you read Project 2025, it gives you an idea of direction they want to go, that what they're trying to do. I just don't know how many people are going to go for all this stuff. I, for one, am out. I'm out. Like, I don't agree, man. Right? Like, I do not agree with this direction. It should be about merit, right? Like, that's what they talk about, but it should be about what can you do? What can you do this job? Can you secure these systems? That's what it should be about. Not do I agree with this or that mandate, or do I agree with the president? Do I think the president should did I vote for the president? That's none of your damn business. You know what I mean? Like, who I pray to, who I go home to is none of your business. I'm here to do a work job to secure systems. That's it. It's not to agree with you or vote for you or pray to the same God or have the same beliefs. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, that said, we don't have to agree. Like, it doesn't, because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I wish bad upon you. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to agree with everything. Somebody says, is AI governance emerging? Yes, it is. It is. It's just going very slow, Matt. What I'm seeing is last couple jobs I've been at, we're adopting it slowly. And I work for the federal government, so their adoption is very, very, very slow. They're very risk averse. They don't just dive into new technologies. That said, they're trying to go fast, but we're dealing with national security issues. We're dealing with your information. We have your personal information. So we have to protect it. We have your taxes, we have your social security number, we have all of your information. So we have to go slow to make sure that it's all this data is protected. So we can't just dive into new technologies. That said, they are adapting AI, but just slowly. So there is AI governance, but it's still like we don't have strong enough leadership. That's another thing. We don't have strong, competent leadership in this administration or the last, to be fair. There's no like straightforward answer on which direction the federal government is going to go with AI. I don't feel like there's they've kind of been wishy-washy on which way to go. And so because of that, there's no clear guidance on what to do with AI governance. And just so you guys know, AI governance means how are we going to treat information as it comes into AI? And what AI are we going to adopt? Are we going to use OpenAI? Are we going to be allowed to use Copilot? Are we going to be allowed to use emerging technology? How are we going to do it? Like, once we gets in, are we going to have like a sandbox where we have it, we introduce it, then we use it, then we put it in production? Those are all governance questions. Like, governance means, what is the information management side of this? How are we going to manage this technology and then manage the data once it comes in and once it goes out? How are we going to do it? Right now, the US hasn't had a clear they don't have a clear guidance on which way to go. Both administrations, by the way, this one and the last, did not have. And to be fair, it's so new and so disruptive that it's hard to like this is a very challenging thing. This is very challenging. It's being adopted very, very quickly outside the government, and they don't have a clear path on where to go. And I think most governments are kind of they're doing something, but we don't know if it's the right way to go. I think the EU has been probably the most mature response to AI, and China's probably been the most reckless, from what I've seen. But they have the most control over their own stuff, so they're kind of just throwing stuff out there and doing stuff, throwing it out there, doing stuff, throwing it out there. Do you? Okay, another question here. Another question. He says, leadership in the government is fearful of new things. Yes, absolutely. They're very risk averse. And then Matthew says, do you think it's smart to stake my time in AI or try to master cyber GRC, then adopt AI into larger organizations? Or okay, so Matthew, let me just tell you what I'm doing. This is a very great question that you pose. Just so you know my background, I've been doing this for since 2000. Year 2000 I got into IT. Um Mostly 95% of my job, 90% has been in the federal government. So this is a very good question that you ask. And now AI is emerging, and I'm asking myself the same question you just asked, which is, do I think that where do I put my time? Do I put it in AI to try to master and go deeper into cyber GRC, or what do I do? What is the next move for me? I see how big AI is. It's constantly being talked about. We're in this huge economic tsunami where they're putting literally trillions of dollars into AI. So how do I make a move? I even went to AI and asked it the question myself. Here's what I arrived at. And this is what I'm doing right now. I want to go into AI. Regardless of what you think about it, whether it's disruptive, it's going to destroy all the things that humanity has become, regardless of what you have, if you're a doomer or if you are one of these people that thinks it's going to save the world. I've read both sides of this, because I'm very, very interested in this. Like, this is extremely exciting. And I'm a sci-fi buff, so it's like sci-fi is happening before my very eyes. So as soon as I saw this, I'm like, damn, I got to get into this. I started leaning into it. I started like studying, buying courses on it, and start doing my own projects on the side, doing automation on the back end, integrating it into what I do. The deeper I got into it, the more I realized how integrated it is with cloud. The answer that I was looking for was not what I expected. I thought I could learn a couple tools to build AI systems, right? Which you can, right? You can download. There's tools you can use like LM Studio to download it on your local system and start learning it. You can actually build your own AI based off of some stuff that's open source. You can take open source, open weights, uh, LLMs, large language models with open weights, and then you can configure it and tweak it to speak how you want and everything, which is what like XAI and Grok and all those guys are doing. They did not develop their own. Like, what they did was they took Olama, I think, and then they modified it with their own weights, and then they have this gigantic cluster behind it or whatever, right? But the premise is there, so you can do your own. You can learn it like that and learn super deep. But what I learned is that, given my skill set and what I know about the market as is, AI is depends almost entirely on cloud, which leads me to think that I need to know as much about cloud as possible. as soon as possible. And that's exactly what I've been doing. Um, so what should you do if you want to know, if you want to get deeper into into AI as a GRC person? You almost have to know more cloud, because AI, like specific example, open AI in order, whenever you spin up a new prompt, or you want to make an image, or you want it to, whatever you're going to do, you make a prompt, make an image, do a business plan, whenever you ask it a question, you have your own instance of OpenAI that's running on a resource in the back end. That resource is in the cloud, spinning up. I believe what it does is creating a container, and especially with agents, it's spinning up a virtualized instance, a container that you just spun it up by doing the prompt. You're asking it to do whatever. It creates a container using Kubernetes. And then this is how all this shit's possible. They're using the cloud infrastructure that can quickly spin up a instance that's using a portion of resources in the cloud. And when I say portion of resource, I mean it's using a little bit of processing power, a little bit of RAM, and a little bit of storage, right, in the cloud to serve it, to give you what you want. The reason why the companies are growing so fast, the AI and all these, is because OpenAI, Olama, Gemini, Perplexity, and all of these are being prompted by everyone on planet Earth. It's not even a close second with other countries. Like, they might have a more powerful model. They might have more powerful models, but the most popular ones are those ones I just mentioned. DeepSeek's in there too. Like, I think it's number 6 or something like that. And let me show you. I'm not lying to you. And maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Maybe it's changed. I'm gonna look up what is the market for AI LLMs. I want to see what LLMs have the biggest market share. That's what I'm looking for right now. I want to show you what I'm talking about to make my point. Okay, let me make sure I'm not late here. Okay, not late, still good. Market share. We want market share of LLMs. Okay, let me see. Market share of LLMs. Now, I just want to emphasize all of these top guys. What they have in common is that they all have to use the cloud. In production, in testing. Okay, I don't know how accurate this one is. Let me see. 60% of the market share. Okay, looks pretty consistent. Some of these I've never even heard of. Wow. Unbelievable. March 2024. Let's get something a little bit more. Let me show you guys my screen here. So what I'm doing is I'm looking up the market share of LLMs. I just want to give you an idea how powerful this stuff has gotten, like what's going on. Right, look at this. So here, this one right here, I think this is a pretty good one. This is 2025. There's DeepSeek right there with 5.9% of the total market. This dark blue is all ChatGPT. They have 82% of the market share. Gemini, DeepSeek, Perplexity, Claude. These guys have the grade, and I was wrong. DeepSeek has quite a bit, 5.9%, but still pretty small. Why is this important? Why is this important? Well, all of these guys use cloud. This can't function without cloud. So what I'm doing is focusing, learning as much as I can about cloud to possibly pivot into doing more AI, or at least be a part of the platform to do AI. And the reason why is because I want to make myself continue to be valuable for the next 10 years. Next 10 years, I want to be more valuable. So I know that AI is not going to get smaller. It's going to get larger. It's just going to get larger. And the reason why is because it's just so damn useful. It's just so damn useful. It might replace a lot of, now I don't think it's going to replace all jobs or something like that. I think that's like 30, that's many years away. Like, we're not there yet. Is it going to replace some jobs? Absolutely. But I think it might make more jobs. I think it make, for all of the doom and gloom about it taking jobs, the reason why I say this is because I'm in the market. I'm not seeing AI take jobs. I'm just not seeing that. That's not what I'm seeing. What I am seeing is like giant corporations. What they're doing is like Amazon. They let go of like, I don't know, 14,000 people. I think what they're doing is they're trying to free up capital so they can buy more GPUs, because a lot of their centers are going to have to be upgraded to GPUs, which are very expensive. They're going to have to upgrade all their GPUs in order to do more OpenAI and Perplexity and all that kind of stuff. I think that's what they're doing, and they might even have their own model to compete directly with ChatGPT. I think that's their goal. So I don't think it's like a, if this, I think you have a false equivalency. You don't have to say, should I do this or should I do that? It's more like, understand the market. So what I'm seeing is AI is going to be used more and more. It's already replacing things like search, enhancing. I shouldn't say replacing. It's more like enhancing search. Like, we haven't stopped using search engines. All that's happened is it's been integrated with what we already have. And I think that's going to happen with browsers. I think it's going to happen with operating systems. It's going to happen with menus. It's going to happen. It's already happening with voice. Like, if you have a voice assistant in your house, AI is already, it's just enhancing all the things we have. But the only way it can do that is for them to have the infrastructure to keep doing it. That's what I think is happening. So I think that you can continue to do GRC and security and stuff, but one thing you might want to put on your plate is cloud. So your original question was, do you think it's smart to stake my time into AI? You should learn as much AI as possible, or try to master cyber GRC than to adopt AI. Depends on where you're at right now. For me, having already a strong GRC background, cyber background, I know I want to do cloud. I mean, I want to do AI, but the best way for me to do it is to get into cloud. I'm most cloud adjacent. If I was just starting out, it would depend. If I was starting out from scratch, would I answer this question differently? Yes, because then it would depend on what I want to do. So if I was a student and I would probably do computer science, and then it would be a matter of, what do I want to do? Do I want to make AI? Do I want to be a part of the guys who fix or maintain or create machine learning systems? Or do I want to Like, what do I want to do? How deep into the science do I want to go? Or do I want to be an engineer, or do I want to be a scientist? It'd be a question like that. It'd be a completely different question, right? So I mean, I hope that gives you some insight. I don't know if that answers your question. It depends on, for me to answer it more properly, I would have to know where you're coming from. I think Matthew goes on to say, I think cyber will be valuable when trying to restore the remains of human intelligence after AI is done with us. I just don't think like there's an apocalyptic ending to all of this. I just don't see that. I don't know. I think there's these two different schools of thought that I've noticed. People are going to one extreme or the other. People are thinking it's either going to be like James Cameron Terminator, where Skynet takes over everything, destroys all humanity. And then there's another one where it's Ray Kurzweil, who thinks about transhumanism is going to emerge with humans, and then humans are going to become super intelligent with AI as we merge. I think the answer is somewhere in between. I don't think it's apocalyptic doom where it crushes all humanity and goes through time to do that. And I don't think it's the other way, where we merge with it and suddenly become these sentient energy beings. It's somewhere, the answer is somewhere in between. But that in between will be so transformative that we won't be able to relate. We live in a time where we're about to transform into something else. It's going to be, looking back on these times before AI gets bigger, it'll be the equivalent of us looking back on Victorian times, before steam engines, before light bulbs, before electricity, before like the mindset of those people, of the coming out of the dark ages, is so different than how people think now, that we're completely different as a species from those times. Their mindset was completely different. The things they did, the actions they took, are things we would not do now. For all the shit we talk about, the wars and everything and all the frustration we have, it was 100 times worse back then. It was 1,000 times worse back then. If you think about how bad it was during, like, a good example would be during like the time of kings and queens and stuff. That shit would never fly now. Slavery, all that. Are there remnants of it? Yes. Like, people kind of throw around those words like slavery and, yes, that's some of it. Like, there's human trafficking. I'm not saying there doesn't exist or anything like that. But at that time, it was okay. I mean, slavery is in the Bible. It's not like it just cropped up in the 1700s, 1600s, right? Like, it didn't just start. Humanity been doing that for thousands of years to different tribes and different people for centuries. You know what I mean? So that shit would never fly now. Not on that scale, like where humans are chattel. It would never happen now. There's other things happen. I'm not saying, we're out of the woods yet on stuff. My point is, the mindset of us now is 100% different than the mindset of people who enslaved entire tribes and races of people. And slavery happened for thousands and thousands of years. It's in the Bible. Like, in the Bible, in the first 5 chapters in the Torah. It's in the freaking Torah. And it happened. Think about this, thousands of years old that it happened. And now the modern mindset, because of all of these advances and how far we've come as a civilization, as a species, that would not fly now. We're going to be we live in a time where we're about to have a transformative change where we the mindset that we were born with, that you and I grew up with, will be night and day from what's about to happen. Something's about to happen. I don't think it's going to be James Cameron, Terminator, 1994. Like Larry's saying here. I don't think it's going to be Skynet. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's somewhere in between transhumanism and the apocalypse. Something in the middle is about to happen to us. But that middle is about to be very, very transformative to where it's night and day. Like it'll be enough to where it's shockingly different. You can see it's happening like in real time, and it's scaring the shit out of people. And I think that's why we got all this stuff happening right now. Because we're going through this gigantic change. Humans are going through some kind of giant change. Like our whole mindset's different. Our values are changing. Data's moving more rapidly than ever. We're on the verge of like 3 different gigantic revolutions that are all happening at once. Energy revolution that it's not really talked about, but something's happening with energy where I don't know if you guys read about it, but they just figured out how to do fusion. It's just in more than one country. It's 10 years away from them making it commercialized, but they just somewhere in China and somewhere in the US. And I think in another country too. They figured out how to do fusion. Nuclear fusion. Solar panels are getting better. Battery power is getting better. All of those things are continuously getting better. So energy in our lifetime, we're going to see a gigantic shift in energy. Won't be a problem anymore. That's one of our main problems is energy. How to make it, how to maintain it, all that. Now that's about to happen. Like that's about to be not a problem no more. Another one is genetics. Because of AI, they were already on the cusp of something amazing. But now with AI, bro, like what something crazy is about that. I don't know if it'll be solving cancer, like figuring out a cure for cancer. Something amazing is about to happen to where I think humans are going to live for like 20 more years than what we currently do. Like instead of living till 90 or 80, right? The average age is like 70. I think people are going to start living way longer. I don't know how much longer, but like 10, 15 years longer, I think, because they're going to be able to solve a bunch of problems that we have with aging. So that's another thing. And then of course, the obvious one is AI. That is literally changing us as we speak. Like is not going to be the same. And because of this convergence of all these different things happening, not to mention everything else that's going to happen, like quantum computers and all this other stuff. Because of all of these things, all coming together, imagine what's going to do to the economy. Yeah, man, something amazing is about to happen. I don't know if it's all going to be good. Because, like, what is all good? It's amazing, but it's also terrifying. It's both. And it's an amazing time to be alive, that's for sure. It's a really amazing time to be alive because we get to see it, but also we get to experience it. So I don't know how, I don't know. I'd probably rather just watch it on TV than actually have it happen to me. Matthew said, if you could go back, would you focus on GRC or technical aspects of cyber more? Technical aspects first. If I could go back, I would focus on the technical first, because that technical foundation opens up more doors. The technical foundation will open up a whole bunch of different doors. You might not even want to do GRC. Like you might want to go pen testing. You might want to go. You might want to go whole science route and do more cryptography or something. You might want to. You might want to do networking. You might want to do. There's so many different avenues that you can go from technical, um, and then evolve into GRC. And it's hard to go from GRC like directly into GRC. I haven't seen that happen too many times. Yes, it does. I've worked with peers where they went directly into GRC, um, or they were in the industry. They're really strong in one industry, and they were made a lateral change. Yeah, it's possible. I've seen that happen, but the best GR puts you like this: the best GRC people were people who came from the technical side because they could do anything. The technical dudes. If I could go back, I would 100%. And that's what I did actually. I was a technical guy, and GRC was pushed upon me. I didn't want to do GRC at all. I wanted to be a network guy. Now I didn't want to do GRC. So like the technical part like opened up more doors. Because I was technical, I can switch gears and go to any other field. Like I can do other things. I don't have to be stuck in GRC. Is there a lifestyle? Is there a lifestyle of technician roles? Is the lifestyle of technician roles attractive? I find I'm more of a sales guy currently. Depends on what you like. I'd say technical people, when you get more technical, you don't have to talk to as many people. You're not in a bunch of meetings and stuff. GRC, sales, business, you're going to be in a bunch of meetings all the time. It's really about relationships, and communicating with people, and that's part of your best skill. So if you like that, then do that. Know the technical part. I would still have the technical piece in my pocket. Like spend some time working on the stuff. But if you want to do a technical sales, if that's the role you want to go, you have to know the technology anyway, but not super deep. Does that make any sense? The good thing about sales, business, and GRC is that you don't have to go super deep into IT. You can just learn all the basics, have a good foundational understanding, and then boom, you can still make a good amount of money, good amount of coin, and then that's the great thing about GRC work is that I don't have to go super deep into one thing, but still that technical piece, like knowing basic. I'll tell you like this: having basic understanding of networking, basic understanding of cloud, basic understanding of programming. Like you don't have to be no master programmer, but know like what different programming types of programming languages are. Do a little code to mess around with it to get an idea of what it's all about. Do a little networking to understand what it's all about. Get a technical job for a year to like really get a feel for it. After that, you'll be a badass. After that, you can go into GRC. You can do all these different things. Like it opens up so many more doors. And let me see some other comments here. I think it's good to adopt a stoic mindset with these things. Don't ignore, but don't overreact. Observe, listen, learn, and make gradual changes. That's exactly right, man. That's exactly right. And don't die. Like a lot of times, what happens is there's this zeitgeist. Like there's a mindset that happens, and everybody kind of goes in that direction. It's not always the truth. So that's why it's good to have a stoic mindset. Be calm. Listen to what's going on. Don't just drink the Kool-Aid immediately. Figure out, like, look at all the facts and all the data and figure it out. Many are saying that it's the beginning of the end of the technical industry, and others are saying that the industry is going to lap humans altogether and leave us behind. Yeah, I don't know about any kind of extreme. I think is not accurate. It's like human nature for us to overreact. An interview for a job. An interview for a job begins with as soon as you enter the building. The receptionist interacts with you, evaluates your behavior while you're waiting for the real interview to start. And another thing is once you even before you start the interview, you need to interview them. You need to learn about their company, learn what they want, so that you know the right questions to ask and you know what to look for with them, because you may not want to work with them. They might not be a good pick for you. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And I've got to go here real soon, guys. Got a hard stop at 12 my time. It gives prospective employers insight into how serious you take safeguarding sensitive information. Yeah, absolutely. And then Larry says, I say keep learning, stay the course, pay attention, but don't overreact to anything. Like security expert says in his post about working in Fang. Yeah, I did do a post about working in Fang. That you can find on ConvoCourses.com, by the way. He says, be the Swiss Army knife, be multifaceted. Absolutely. Shout out to Larry for being a member for over 1 year. And then last question. Matthews TV says, what are some of the best roles in tech that are not spoken about enough? Security expert, what do you say to that one? The best roles that are not spoken about enough. Best roles not spoken about enough. I would say it's more like people don't realize that every single industry has needs for a GRC type position. It's not just government. It's not just healthcare. We're all kind of doing the same thing. Governance is the information management piece. Risk management is the vulnerabilities, looking at vulnerability management, looking at risk management. And then compliance is making sure that proper documentation and processes are being done in that industry. All industries need to do these three things in some capacity. They call it different things, they use different tools, but they're doing the same thing. It's not really spoken about in manufacturing, by the way. Like, I don't see a lot of posts about GRC in manufacturing. I don't see a lot of posts about GRC in healthcare, to be honest with you. I don't see different industries talking about GRC, but it doesn't mean they don't exist. They do. I see, like, I'm attracting a lot of people who want to get into GRC for government, but there's a lot of GRC in every industry has GRC. Every single one has it, especially if they're dealing with sensitive information. So that's the one thing I would say is it. And then GRC is not one thing, okay? GRC is governance, information management of all types, and that can include project management and program management. The R is, there's so many things: auditing, assessors, pen testers, red teamers. All of those could fit into the R, because R is risk management. The organization doing risk management, which means you're a part of that piece of GRC. And then compliance, of course, is making sure it's in compliance with rules, regulations, frameworks, and things like that. So it's really broad, and it applies to every single industry and sector. So that's what I would say about it. Like there is something there. And let me read this last one. I'll end it with this. Thank you for the super chat, Larry. I appreciate you. And he says, this is my personal request to have the one and only security expert join you for an episode of LinkedIn profile reviews and job hunting tips. He is ideal. He's the real deal. Yeah, I want to have him, man. Like anytime, security expert, I'm ready, man. You could just do voice if you want, man. Like I know it's kind of a big leap. Use a different name. Use just your voice. I would love to interview you. Actually, it's not even an interview. We just be talking and giving tips about what we've done to get out there for the job. You know, if you want to, it's always open, man. Absolutely, always open. Yeah, I would love to have you. Absolutely love to have you on here. All right, guys, that's it. I got to get going. We got stuff to do here, but thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everybody. Thank you, Larry, specifically. Security expert, everybody who asked questions, all those questions that you ask. There's no dumb question. Like you ask a question, and 9 times out of 10, somebody else wants to hear it, and it could change somebody's life. Your question that somebody hears years from now watching this clip could change somebody else's life.